Hi, my name is Daniel Ivy, and this is
John Wilker, Vice President of RPG Research.
the RPG Talk Show by RPG Research.
Yes, RPG Research is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, 100% volunteer-led. What we do is we research the effects of all role-playing games in all formats. That's everything from live action to electronic, hybrid, and of course your traditional tabletop role-playing games.
Yes.
We have a community center on 101 North Stone East. 101 North Stone, no east there. Spokane. We're in the east, east central.
Yeah, we're in Eastern Washington, so
Yeah, but the most places we're in Spokane, Washington 99202, and we are available at rpgresearch.com, as you can see from Nightbot. And we also are trying to bring more of these shows to people.
Yep.
Every Monday, we have this talk show where we start off with our just chatting portion, talk about random things, updates, news, if we have anything.
Yeah.
Or just talk about role-playing adjacent material.
Yeah.
Sometimes we might get a little off track, especially movies and comics. But trust me, they all tie back into role-playing games one way or the other.
Or at least we'll try to tie it back.
Yeah. Now, we currently do not have any sponsors, so we do need people who want to step up for that. But even if you can't donate, one of the most important things you can do for us is to spread the word. Let people know we exist. We are the best kept secret in all of Spokane and most of the world. There are actually more people who know about us outside of Spokane than internally.
Yeah.
And we will be trying to get all these broadcasts rebroadcast on YouTube just to get a couple more eyeballs and ears out there.
Yeah.
So, first part of the conversation I want to ask, have you ever played HeroClix?
Yes, I have.
What kind of characters did you play?
Oh, okay, so when I was playing HeroClix, this was before DC came out with HeroClix, so it was like the very, very, very beginning of HeroClix.
Now, are you talking Mage Knight?
See, I had some Mage Knight, but I wasn't playing Mage Knight. I was using Mage Knight as my D&D figures.
Right.
Yes, but I did have HeroClix for Marvel before they came out with DC, and I did play some of that.
And yeah, I've played a lot of the. I have some old HeroClix, Mage Knight. I even have one or two horror clicks.
Okay.
But you would have to agree that HeroClix, Mage Knight, and all those things are not role-playing games.
I would agree, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, mind you, I use as I said, the Mage Knight figurines as models for D&D.
Right.
Oh, they're wonderful, but
you're playing Dungeons & Dragons
I'm
using another game resources.
Right.
Just like I play Dungeons & Dragons using Lego figures.
Yeah, I'm not playing Mage Knight.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, still not making it into a role-playing game. But this year, I believe in September, they're coming out with Dungeons & Dragons HeroClix. So far, they have announced the Displacer Beast, and the Displacer Beast is really cool because he looks like the Lion Rampant. You know, with all 6 legs up, the tentacles up. He's got that pose right there. It looks great, and he comes with certain treasure pieces.
Okay.
Like a shield or a pile of gold. There's just we got treasure pieces there.
I may get back into collecting HeroClix.
This is both a wonderful year for Dungeons and Dragons collectors and a horrible year for Dungeons and Dragons collectors.
Or at least their pockets.
Well, yeah, our wallets do not appreciate this year, but I do. And I just have to convince my wife that these are necessary and a tax write-off. All right, so we have the Displacer Beast. We have an owlbear.
Nice.
With a baby owlbear.
Hey.
And some more treasure.
Although I wish they would also have, like, Displacer Beast kittens.
I would too. I
Yes.
mean, there is a Dungeons and Dragons Displacer Beast kitten in canon,
Yes.
so why not?
Yes. I've needed that since I was running a 3rd edition campaign back in college.
Oh,
Yes, one of my players ended up breeding Displacer Beasts, and we needed Displacer Beast kittens because, yeah,
okay, yeah.
for a very long time I have.
Well, when Wild Beyond the Witchlight came out, you could have gotten the star Displacer Beast kitten. It's the only one in the group, but that's what paint's for.
Well, yeah, I mean, the stat. I just needed the stats for Displacer Beast kittens, and just that stat block was a good enough reason for me to get Wild Beyond the Witchlight.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Owlbear, Displacer
Cub.
Beast, Owlbear Cub, and Mimic,
Okay,
and a Beholder.
nice.
That's all that's been announced so far. Every one comes with additional treasures, and I do not know how they're packaging them. Are they packaging them one per box, or are they doing their traditional one?
Where it's a long box and you get like 4 of them.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
You don't know what you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's going to be a long box, but it's going to be each one is going to be themed to that one critter. Because the owlbear is supposed to come with the owlbear cub, and particular treasure pieces.
Okay.
I don't know how they're going to run it.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of prefer, especially when they're dealing with the boxes where, if we're going to do like a large set, then the entire set is themed, because that's how they did it before.
Right.
So, like, I'm getting the owlbear one. I don't necessarily want the owlbear and the owlbear cub. Give me something random.
Well, that's the question. How random is it? It doesn't sound like it's random because the descriptions say owlbear club, and these 2 treasures.
I want some amount of randomization.
Well, when you go in there, close your eyes, grab a box.
Yeah.
But, it's still a great social game.
Oh, yeah.
We get to go and play in public with these games. We can get to play at home. We get to collect things.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these HeroClix figures are actually useful as Dungeons and Dragons figures.
Oh, yeah, I know. I've used them.
Myself, especially for large figures.
Mm-hmm.
It's harder
absolutely.
to get a small figure out of a HeroClix without breaking it.
Yeah. Also, they've had because I still have the figurines, they have treasure chests that can be opened.
Yeah.
And they have this little dial on them that shows, like, okay, what's in there, and sometimes it's a trap.
Right.
Being able to have that little figure of the treasure chest, and, like, go ahead, random player.
Is it a treasure chest or a mimic?
Right. Open it up, look, it's a trap, and then you roll. Yeah, there's a certain aspect to it that I very much enjoyed as just HeroClix. As I said, I was utilizing them when I was really, really getting into, being a DM.
Right.
Because, I had a couple of pewter figurines, but when I need a lot of figurines to run my games, I went with HeroClix first. Specifically Mage Knight.
It wasn't a bad choice.
Mm-hmm.
One of the great things I think about, if you're going to use HeroClix, you get the HeroClix maps, and you just deal with the fact that you're using a larger scale.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine.
You can say that 1 square is still 5 feet. Just your
doesn't have to be
minis are
1
bigger.
inch.
Yeah, it just won't be a 1 inch equals 5 feet. It's 1 square equals 5 feet, and it works just fine. And then you can get some really cool big minis in there.
Oh, yeah.
I've got a dragon that covers half the table. But that's one of the things I used to do with social. And here at RPG Research, socialization and getting people together is important. Now, some games they work on a different scale of things. Probably the most social version of role-playing games has to be LARP.
Yes.
It's also the place where there's the biggest risk of bleed.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not just saying and doing things, you're acting things out.
Now, for those people who do not know what we mean by bleed, we're not talking about like, someone has been injured and they're bleeding out.
Yes, it's a combat LARP, and is more prone to both types of bleed.
Yeah.
But the one we're talking about is the psychological bleed things that affect from the outside world that affect the game is one type of bleed, and things that happen in the game that affect you outside of the game is another type of bleed.
Yeah, so for example, if you've had a long day at work and you're aggravated, right? And then you come home and you play your game, and that aggravation from work outside of the game affects your character and how you play your character, that is a type of bleed. Your outside work life is affecting the character that you're playing.
Right. I've seen it happen where somebody had a bad customer service experience. And when he went into the module and he had a doorman that was a bit snooty.
Took it out on the doorman?
Oh, like brutally. Like, so you're going to jail forever?
Yeah, that would be an example of bleed in. Now, we do have some bleed out where things that happen in the game affect your real life.
Right. Where, like, you learn a new coping mechanism. We definitely use our role-playing games for that. People learn new science or educational things, and they get to use that in real life. So it goes both ways.
Yeah, and we also want to point out that bleed in isn't necessarily bad bleed.
Right.
And bleed out isn't necessarily good. It's just the direction that the bleed is happening, and we have to judge the bleed based on to determine whether or not it is good bleed or bad bleed.
Right. So if you learn a social mechanism in the game, and now you walk out of there from playing Pimps and Druggies, or Pimp and Dealer, new game I just made up.
Okay.
And you go out into your real life and start acting like the characters from a game like that, that's going to be a negative bleed.
Correct.
Usually.
Yeah. Or one that I've seen more often is something happens in game between two close people, and it affects the things that their characters did. Well, they had a bit more investment into the characters, and it affects their real life.
Right.
For example, you say you have a couple in real life that are playing two different characters that aren't necessarily in a relationship, but one of them gets into a relationship with an NPC. Well, if there isn't proper communication and understanding, the other player may feel negative about that. That would be negative bleed out.
Yeah, the real world example that I came across was a game. It was Dungeons and Dragons, 3rd edition, but set in the real world.
Yeah.
It was Ravenloft, Mask of the Red Death. So monsters that you might meet would be Jack the Ripper, Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah.
You might meet Sherlock Holmes or Dracula, and you're dealing with an 1890s world that was fairly historical, except for the thing. But that's not what the point is. The point is, we had one person playing the same character.
Yeah.
When he was single, he had another player character playing his girlfriend in game.
Oh yeah. I remember the story.
Yeah. So they were dating in game, not outside of the game.
Yeah.
And then later on, the girlfriend is no longer part of the game.
Yeah.
And he is now married. His wife is now playing his in-game girlfriend. Now, the characters aren't married in-game, but they're married out-game. I needed to bring in a doppelganger-like monster called a wolf-were. So if you cross a werewolf with a doppelganger, this is your nightmare.
It's also, for me, considered like the reverse werewolf.
It is, yeah, because it's a wolf that becomes a human and can be either male or female.
Mm-hmm.
But this one was more doppelganger than anything. It didn't have one set male. It didn't have one set female.
Yeah.
And it came into the town that they were in their investigation, looking like the ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
Well, the real-world wife didn't like the ex-girlfriend showing up. Mm-hmm. So she literally took her to throw her on the next stagecoach going out of town.
Yeah.
Great, wonderful. The ex-girlfriend was actually the wolfware. And they fought a one-on-one fight.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what you do in Dungeons and Dragons if you want to live.
Yeah.
Or Call of Cthulhu.
Oh, by the way, this is, because I'm familiar with the story, this is one of those, and at the end, John Williker has killed the entire party again.
Yes,
yeah.
It was a TPK, but in my defense...
In your defense, allegedly.
The party did it to themselves. Because when the wife got killed, I handed her the stats for the wolfware and saying, he has now taken your form. Do what you will. And then when she killed off the next person, handed that person the form. Mm-hmm. And they separate. You know, they get everybody, the wolfware gets the other person separated, so they're just alone.
Yeah.
And we come back, and the other person is the wolfware, and the other person, nobody knows where it is.
Yeah.
The last character alive, who happens to be the boyfriend, figures out what's going on at the last second, just before he dies.
Yeah.
He literally framed his character sheet and put a black banner across it. But that was a bleed-in situation that resulted in a complete and utter TPK.
Yeah.
Hawk will tell you the story of two players that hated each other, but
in real
learned
life,
to get along while playing.
The minute the game ends, they're back to at each other's throats.
They didn't get that bleed out as much as they could have or should have.
Yeah.
In the circumstances where they could have gotten along better on the outside. It was starting to work a little better for them, but after a while they just went back to stage one again of just hating each other.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, I've also heard, enough of stories coming out of prisons where, they're running some type of role-playing game, and you have rival gangs, rival groups, like, say, a Mexican cartel and white supremacists. And they put things aside because a good game's a good game.
Right. It's an opportunity not to be in prison for a moment.
Yeah. And I've heard stories of, different groups quelling major beef that's happening in the prison because they really don't want to disrupt that game.
Well, as the story, as I heard it, they just refused to get involved in the major beef that was happening in all the other cell blocks, and this cell block was able to hold it together and not go riot.
Yeah, I've heard of that one. As I said, I've heard multiple stories.
Yeah.
One of them was, this major beef is happening, and different people like, I'm in this game, and like, maybe don't do some of this, and they quelled some major beef, primarily because there was this connection in the game that was happening between rival groups.
Yeah, and we've seen some of this bleed out, and not only in our prison programs, jail programs, but like in schools where we had kids that were being well behaved, well attentive during the game, and that alone was having the teachers completely shocked. They want to come in and see.
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
What hypnosis method are we using on these children to get them to be well behaved? But then they also noticed that some of these kids were self-regulating during the day because they had an intrinsic motivation, knowing that if they mess up, if they short out during the day, they can't come to the game after school. And it was making a tremendous impact on their out of game behavior.
Yeah.
It allowed them to sit there and recognize, I need to take the time out, as opposed to, I don't want to take the time out. I don't want to take a break.
Mm-hmm.
I want to keep on pushing through. They figured out, you know what? This is worth my time and effort to regulate so that I don't lose out on something I want.
Right, and this is one of the things that we tend to try and do in therapy, especially with the role-playing games, and why we feel like role-playing games is such a great form of therapy, is we try to build up that intrinsic motivation. Because
Exactly.
we could say, like, okay, well, if you do this, you get a cookie.
And one of the things,
Yeah, which
like
is like
going
an
back
extrinsic
to,
motivation.
well, that's extrinsic.
Yeah,
I'm going to give you a reward, but the intrinsic motivation is that I'm doing it for me.
yeah,
I'm doing it because I want the benefit of doing what I'm doing. Now, in prisons, one of the worst things about people who are in prisons and people who are in drug rehabilitation programs is when they get out of that confined space, where they get out of there, where do they go? Home. They go back to where they were last.
yeah.
And I have a joke about that, but it's not appropriate, so we'll continue on. But they go back to the same cohorts
Yeah.
that they had when they were in jail, before they went into jail, and they get back with the same people that got them in trouble in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So some programs have a way to get cohorts that are different
Yeah.
by getting them into role-playing groups. They did role-playing when they were working in D&D, in prison, Dungeons & Dragons behind bars. Then they go to a halfway house where they continue the role-playing games.
Yeah.
Sometimes the halfway house is where it starts, but we're trying to make it start in the jail, be part of your rehabilitation, go to the halfway house, and then you learn to get new cohorts on the outside.
Yeah.
Where part of your prohibition is that the right word? Prohibition? No. Probation.
Probation. Yeah.
Part of your probation is that you have to spend time with a D&D group or any other role-playing group that isn't compromised of only criminals.
Yeah, I mean, it's been my understanding that not all, but the vast majority of crime is socioeconomic in nature.
Well, there's two types: socioeconomic, which unfortunately includes the very rich stealing from it because they want more economics for themselves. Great, whatever.
Yeah.
But beyond the socioeconomic, there is a lot of bad habits, drugs and alcohol, and there are crimes of passion and things like that.
Yeah.
People, research has found that people who play role-playing games have a lower coefficient of hostility.
Right.
They've also found they have a lower percentage chance of being suicidal. One of those reasons, theoretically, is that when you have cohort, people that you can rely on, people that you can discuss things with, and you have a game system or systems, depending on how many games you play, that reinforce problem solving.
Yes. Yeah.
And all of these things. And this type of socialization improves your chances of not going back to your old ways. 80% of all prison programs that rely on a creative outlet, well, let me phrase that. It's not 80% of all the programs. The programs that have creative outlets have an 80% reduction in recidivism. They don't go back.
Yeah.
And this is an argument some people are going to have. Is jail for punishment or rehabilitation? The answer is yes.
Yeah.
But if you swing one way to the other, it's not going to work. And rehabilitation is more important, in my personal view, not necessarily the RPG research stance, but in John Welker's point of view, rehabilitation is more important than punishment. You've already done the bad thing. You're getting punished by being in jail anyways. If we can get you not to come back, if we can get you to be a better person, by creating new ways to socialize, new ways for you to solve your problems, and then we're doing our job.
Yeah, I mean this can also get into a much larger discussion about what is the point of certain facilities in our society, jail being one of them. If the point is, if the goal of a particular society is to better that society, then what is the point? How does jail factor into that?
For the longest time, jail has factored in improving our society by giving us better educated thugs.
See, that's the thing.
It wasn't being used to rehabilitate appropriately.
Right. So there is an argument that I am familiar with, where the point isn't to better society. The point is to skirt around, basically get labor for free.
Well,
yeah,
that is a problem of for-profit prisons, and that's not the topic that we're covering here.
Yeah.
But for-profit need to be changed on how they're reimbursed, and bonuses for how long a person can stay out of prison because you did it better are better than just paying them for spaces they fill, or you get to keep all the money from how little food you feed them.
Yeah. I feel, though, that if we are going to talk about jails and how we feel jails should act, I'm just pointing out the elephant in the room that, many jails don't act in the
best interest of their clients.
Right.
Which is society.
Right.
As well as the prisoners.
Yeah. If the motive is to better society and through that better the prisoners, which would be to seek rehabilitation.
So the question is, non-rehabilitative private prisons, should they even be allowed? I don't have an answer for that. I know how I can help a prison keep people out of prison.
Right.
I know how I can teach educational materials to people that are in school at high risk. I know how to teach them in prison so that they can learn different skills, social skills, math, science, history, all that good stuff. I always try not to sing the Big Bang theme song at that point.
Yeah. And I mean, this gets into my personal Daniel Ivy's beliefs that I more than anything I want our society as a whole to be better. I want people to be healthier and happier. Okay, that means that certain societal structures need to have that that motivator dictating how they function as well. Unfortunately, that's not necessarily that doesn't necessarily line up with the society that we have.
Right.
Yeah.
A society right now where one person may say that mental health is the actual problem, to insert anything here.
Yeah.
But insurance covers mental health. You better yeah. It's on you to pay for your own mental health and stuff like that, and that's not as exactly as effective as people sometimes think it is.
But getting back onto the topic of socialization,
right? Well, and that's the thing. I have a stepsister who's in crisis.
I'm sorry.
And they have moved to try to get away from those bad influences that want her stoned, drunk, and pliable.
Yeah.
And if she can get into a therapeutic role-playing situation where she can learn to accept herself and to accept people treating her as a person,
Yeah.
then her life could get a big turnaround. If they can find those type of services and can pay for them.
Yeah.
And since we got into this topic of paying for them, right now the laws for recreation therapy, which most of us are rec therapists, at least registered, if not certified, nationally certified.
Yeah, I am adjacent, but still affected.
Yep. And the issue is that the law states that rec therapy has to get paid and has to be available in-house, meaning in the hospital. Non-hospital driven places don't have that guarantee.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah. Not being able to have outpatient therapy, and outpatient therapy that's not based on a 45 minutes.
Yeah.
That's something that we need to push more for as far as getting people paying for it.
Yeah.
Right now, RPG Therapeutics, or RPG LLC, is a for-profit recreation therapy organization that can do everything that we are training and studying in RPG research. They put that into practice.
Yeah.
But we can't do much for people who can't pay our admittedly expensive fees. RPG Therapeutics is not a charity. Though it does donate 10% of its income to RPG research.
It does.
Which is not as much as you would think it would be.
Yeah.
But the important thing to note here is as long as Medicaid, Medicare, and other insurance companies, because other insurance companies follow the Medicaid, Medicare model,
Yeah.
until rec therapy, outpatient care is covered by insurance, then too many people that need it, the people that need it the most, are the ones that can't pay for it.
Yeah. And we absolutely want people to be able to afford, the therapy that they need in a venue or a method that best suits them.
Right, and that's rather whether or not you are East Coast, West Coast, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter
who you're getting your therapy from. But if you're following the rec therapy model like we are, you're not going to be covered by your insurance, most likely. Check with your insurance company. Check with, I would love it, somebody to come up and say, John, you're absolutely wrong. These insurance cover outpatient rec therapy, and we'd love to send you clients. Awesome.
Yeah. Let's get them help.
Yeah, that's it. But now, other people, how are they doing geek therapy? Well, they're using their other therapist licenses, their sociology, their psychology, and other licenses, and they're just using it as a modality. Technically, we're using role-playing games as the rec therapy modality, but recreation therapy isn't covered the same way as talk therapy, Gestalt therapy, and some of those other therapists and psychologists are covered.
Yeah.
Love to get, I've written a paper about it. I need to publish it. And I love to get people more talking about how that's going to work. So,
I mean, honestly, it seems to me that I kind of wish more people who actually worked in the industry and knew what would work also had more of an influence on how people are allowed to do it, as opposed to some random politician or executive of a insurance company determines what's the best way to administer therapy.
well, there are groups like ATRA,
Yeah.
American Therapeutic Recreation Association, and they're the ones that go to Congress. But there's not enough people in ATRA doing that. We don't have energy companies or NRA money to do this right. And we don't have enough volunteers. The leadership of ATRA and rec therapy is aging out. For some reason, I keep getting older.
Darn.
Yeah. I googled ATRA just to make sure I said the abbreviation right. And the first thing that came up was Automatic Transmission Rebuilders Association.
No, that's not the same.
Yeah. It's the recreational therapists, national membership organization for recreational therapists. They're the ones who do the advocacy, and they're the ones that are trying to push for these things. And we're trying to get role-playing games more and more accepted by the role-playing, or not the role-playing, the recreation therapist organizations. And we're on our way well into making us more mainstream. We have an opportunity in the future to get into a rec therapist textbook.
Nice.
Actually, the writing's almost done. We just need to finish it. But some of us are working too hard to keep the doors open to get the other things that we need to do done.
No, we are working. It's just we are limited in manpower.
Yeah. Well, right now our donations have been down, and our volunteers have been down. The community center is not open up to the public yet. Again, I mean, we were open, but we need to build that up more and get those volunteers trained. We're not just going to grab a person off the street and says, I know how to play D&D. Good. You're running games today. We want people that can play more than Dungeons & Dragons. We want people who can deal with problem children of all ages. And by all ages, we've had as low as 2.5 to 98 as far as people who've played with us. But we also do background checks on these people because we want to keep a safe, clean environment. And bleach isn't free.
Yeah.
And
we understand that we are a part of this community. We understand that sometimes communities that promote play tends to attract children, and where there are children, there are predators. We need to make sure that those type of predators are not preying on the vulnerable.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, with all of our people that we have that are volunteering, none of us get paid, but someday we get up to where we're $1 million a year company, nonprofit organization, then we can start paying some of our volunteers.
And mind you, the million is an arbitrary number that he's pulled out. I don't think you have the exact figures in front of you.
Oh no, I don't have an exact number, but I don't think of it as an arbitrary number. I think it is a minimum number. Because we have work to do on the building.
Yeah,
we have work to do on the training, And right now, it is people who are willing to work for free and people who are willing to donate time and money to keep this going. And
Yeah.
we would like to do more. We want to pay our people. We want to have beautiful places to visit and see. We want to have our museum and all of our information available to people, including things that you can't find anywhere else.
Yeah.
But we're going to be working hard on those things.
And I know that Perth mentioned that slow growth is sustainable growth. I think that's a little bit backwards, where sustainable growth does tend to be slow, but you can have slow and unsustainable growth.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't have too slow of a growth, or that snail will fall down back into the salt pit.
Yeah.
What do we need? Well, we need cash donations. We need sponsors. We need donations of items like chairs that can hold 400-pound plus people.
Yeah.
Not everybody we get is a 400-pound plus person, but we, on a regular basis, get 2 or 3 of those a week.
Yeah. We need to basically make sure that if we're talking about accommodation, that we can actually accommodate them.
Speaking of which, we need to upgrade our bathroom.
Yeah.
To make it better wheelchair accessible. It is wheelchair accessible, but it's not.
It doesn't have the handlebars.
It doesn't hit the ADA requirements.
Yeah.
And that's our number one thing: accessibility. Unfortunately, accessibility isn't free.
No.
Look at what it costs to have a translator for sign language. My last convention that I ran,
Sorry about the delay.
yeah, sorry for the
Welcome back. This is the RPG Talk Show. My name is Daniel Ivey, and this is
John Wilker, Vice President of RPG Research. And today's topic for our middle segment, which is our main topic that we always do. Well, we have a different topic, but the middle segment's where we do the main topic.
Yeah.
Today, what are we going to talk about? It's
a
mystery. All right. So, obviously, we are going to talk about mysteries.
But first, before we get onto the mystery genre, I wanted to, clarify a mystery that we left before we went on break, and that was what you were going to say before we crashed.
Yes, just moments before the crash, I was mentioning how expensive accessibility can be.
Yes.
Not just the physical stuff like putting in rails, ramps, and someday in the far-flung future of fantasy, an elevator.
Yeah.
The things like my last convention that I ran the gaming section for,
Yeah.
we wanted sign language translators for the panels and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Problem is, you have to have a minimum of 2.
Yeah.
If not 3, because they have to be able to take breaks.
Yeah.
There's a minimum price for these individuals. They cannot just donate their time, or the delegation of sign language masters or translators will blackball them. But the cost for 2 translators for a convention of 3 days cost more than the convention itself.
Mm-hmm.
So we really had an option. We could have translators or a convention.
Yeah.
Not both. And, we did not make enough money barely to get the convention going.
Yeah.
And some people will argue that if you can't afford to have the translators, you shouldn't run a convention. Well, that kind of destroys the entire concept of nonprofit conventions.
Yeah. Sometimes something is better than nothing.
Right. And it sure leaves anybody who's not a for-profit big business convention like San Diego Comic-Con and Gen Con
Mm-hmm.
Out in the lurch. And means that unless you can afford to go to one of the big conventions across the country, you're not getting a convention.
That's not fair. So, back onto the main topic, which is the
Mystery.
genre of mysteries.
All right, so why don't you let us know what the definition of the genre for mysteries. Before you do, though, I do want to point out that whenever we're talking about genres are we're looking at in a literary format. They also overlap with movies, comic books, and games.
Yeah.
We'll talk about how they fit in all those categories.
Well, I tend to expand it not just literary, but narrative, and a narrative can take on many, many different forms. Literary is just one of them.
Well, there's the argument that movies are just a moving narrative, and therefore is part of literature as well. Role-playing games is literature. I mean, after all, we read it,
Yeah.
and we do theater through it, but it's all genre.
Yeah.
So, what is the genre of a mystery? What do you cover as the definition of that?
So, I was doing some research on it, and I wasn't really happy with a lot of the definitions that I came across, because they seem to pigeonhole it quite a bit. But a lot of it was centered around a puzzling, basically the narrative is the attempt to solve some type of puzzling question, oftentimes a crime.
Okay,
and
so
many times murder.
not just solving a puzzle like a Sudoku,
Right.
Or
And I do feel like, okay, something being puzzling is important to the genre of mystery, but it's more than that, because it's a part of a narrative. There needs to be complications.
right.
So if you have a puzzle, and then you are immediately presented with an answer, well, there's not much of a story there.
Right, except in the cases where you have an Alfred Hitchcock style narrative where they present you the solution and the rest is watching in frustration as the stars of the show try to figure it out for themselves, and coming up with the evidence to back up what you already know.
And, we were talking about this earlier, and I don't feel like, I don't think that is not a mystery. I feel like at that point, the nature of the mystery has changed.
Right.
So you're presented, okay, this is the mystery. Well, this is the problem and the solution, but the real mystery is, how are they going to solve it?
Right.
And now you're watching that. The mystery wasn't who done it. The mystery is, how did they solve it?
One of the great examples of that format is Elsbeth. This had its first season, and except for the final one, we know who the perpetrator is.
Mm-hmm.
We know how they did it.
Yeah.
We're just watching Elsbeth figure it out and seeing if she can find the clues, put the parts together to prove it. And a lot of the times, Elsbeth walks into a room and goes, "You're interesting."
Yeah.
And she follows that person and tries to figure out how they did it.
Yeah.
And all she's got is that first hunch.
Mm-hmm. I mean, some people have really good hunches like that. I know that
her instincts are dead on.
Yeah, and I've heard lots of stories of people who really are into mystery, and they are at times irritated because they go into a mystery and like, well, that's the person who did it, because they're so suffused with many of the tropes that happen with mystery.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything from Chekhov's gun to that person is the cliched villain.
Mm-hmm.
After all, he's the butler and he has a twirly mustache.
Right. And this is one of the things that I wanted to get into as well, with where a mystery is more than just a puzzle in narrative form. I feel like there are certain things that need to be done for not just a mystery, but a good mystery, where you have a setup, you have expectations, and then at some point there's a subversion of those expectations.
Does a mystery always have to deal around a crime? I mean,
don't believe so.
You already mentioned murders and other crimes, whodunits. Police procedurals fit into that category.
Mm-hmm.
Sherlock Holmes is usually a whodunit.
Yeah.
And those other examples. So, what are other good mysteries that are out there?
Well, let's see here. I mean, I'm at this point, I'm trying to figure out. Okay, there's good mysteries, and a lot of them do deal with crimes or people who have been wronged. Mm-hmm. But I'm also trying to come up with just off the cuff, a mystery that doesn't involve a crime or someone being wronged. A mystery could be, who got me that really great Christmas present?
Right.
Yeah. And there could be a very interesting narrative there. Is there a crime? No. Has someone been wronged? No. It's just, just a puzzle that you want to figure out, and there could be subversions to the expectations and everything.
Also, there are historical mysteries, like how was that pyramid built? Well, obviously it was aliens, because people before yesterday were too dumb to stack bricks on top of each other.
Mm-hmm.
But what is this device and what was it used for? Did this place that so-and-so talked about, like Plato, did this place exist? This is a mystery.
Yeah.
Or is it truly fiction? Because back then, a lot of people did not admit, most people, 99.9% of the writers or storytellers did not admit that their stories were fictional.
Yeah.
I have one really great example, but I keep forgetting the name of the guy. And that's not a mystery. That was science fiction back in the Greek age. The point is, a mystery doesn't have to mean somebody dies.
Correct.
It means that there is something, usually in a social context,
Yeah.
where we need to figure out the who, what, when, where, or why, and how sometimes of the circumstances around us.
Right. Now, I mentioned that we need to have a setup, any subversion of expectations. And
Right.
In a conversation about this very topic earlier today, I came up with a wonderful example of an entire TV show where they set up a mystery at the very beginning.
Right.
And although there were many twists and turns, at the end there was a lack of subversion of that expectation, and the end result was a very well-liked TV series. People were pissed off at the end.
Right.
And that TV series was How I Met Your Mother. People knew at the very beginning who the mother was. It was just watching everyone just get around to determining that Robin's the one. It wasn't who's the mother. The question is who's the main character going to end up with at the end.
Right.
It's Robin. It was Robin. I'm not going to.
It was always Robin.
It was always going to be Robin. People saw it from the get-go, and yeah, it would have been nice to see have some type of subversion, but they executed it badly.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, it was still a mystery.
Who Shot JR was bigger of a mystery.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a dream sequence at the end?
See, that gets into another thing. If we're talking about a mystery within a narrative, the answer to the mystery should be within the narrative. You can't if you come out of left field and say, this is the answer, and there is no possible way for you to guess because none of the evidence was there, then that's just a bad story.
Well, that is a legitimate argument. Some people would say that Stephen King's The Colorado Kid is a bad story because it does not have a narrative answer in it. The whole point of the story was that it was a unsolvable mystery within the context of the story of what the information they gave you, including things that were impossible or at the very best improbable, such as getting from Colorado to Maine in 5 hours in 1983.
Yeah.
Was it impossible? No. Was it probable? Not really. That was seen alive in one state.
Well, here's the question, because this is fiction. It's not based off of a true story.
Correct.
Okay, based off of with the Colorado Kid, within the structure of that story, was it possible without coming up with entirely new concepts within the story?
Yes. It's possible for somebody to take a private flight from Colorado to Maine in 5 hours that doesn't fit a regular plane schedule.
Okay.
Even though there were no scheduled flights that make direct contact between Colorado and Maine and could get there in 5 days on commercial flights, it's not improbable. I mean, it's not impossible, but it does count for going, how did he afford this? Why did he go there? Why does a guy with a fish dinner in his stomach choke on a piece of steak?
So, honestly, it sounds like, Stephen King wrote a story that was filled with nothing but red herrings.
It sounds like it. Was there an answer in his mind? There's a mystery for you.
Yeah, but we're not, at this point, we're, talking outside of the meta.
Right.
Or we're talking a meta mystery as opposed to within the confines of the story, and if there isn't an answer that can be solved, then I don't think there's a mystery. I think it's some other thing.
So why is RPG research talking about mysteries?
Well, for one, it is a genre that
Yes.
narratives can then can take on. and many people do like mysteries,
Yes.
which means we can run games that utilize mysteries.
Worldwide, in fact, America-wide, the most popular genre for fiction is police procedurals.
Yeah.
Followed closely by medical procedurals. And mysteries fit within police procedurals hand in glove. No offense, certain people that the glove did or did not fit.
Yeah, well,
We'll keep that joke a
Yeah.
mystery.
yes.
If you're old enough to figure that out, that's on you.
Mm-hmm.
But, so we got some books here
Yeah, we do.
that are types of mysteries.
So, let's start off with Bubblegum Shoe, which is a detective story game.
Now, this is written for teenagers.
Yeah.
You are playing high schoolers.
Mm-hmm.
And believe it or not, it has a higher rating on our tier list because it covers more adult topics
Yeah.
than, say, kids on bikes.
Yes. Get a proper zoom in on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
The stories that get played in here go from everybody from Who Stole My Bike to Who Published Pictures of the Prom Queen.
Yeah.
And to also include things like drugs and other issues that teenagers have to deal with, regardless of the fact that we think it's an appropriate literature for them.
So an argument can be made that teens live in kind of R-rated situations, despite it being us trying to have their stuff being PG-13.
Some teens that I know have lived in X-rated scenarios.
Yeah.
Well,
in terms of movie theater ratings, that'd be NC-17.
Nowadays, yes.
Yeah.
I'm old enough to remember what an X rating meant.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Dresden Files was popular as a police procedural with magic.
Yes. Although we would not suggest the role-playing game, we found that book is nearly unreadable.
Right. It's not accessible, but I think that Dresden Files, as it is a great great thing for stories. You just need to republish it in a readable format.
Yes.
But these are grounded, earth-based, low-level mysteries that people have to solve. What's the next book?
We have The Darkest Hour, or The Darkest House.
The Darkest House. This is by Montclair Games.
Yeah.
It is a haunted house story.
Yes.
It was designed to be played online as a role-playing game over, what are these things called? Not Twitch, but these formats where people talk to each other, like Zoom. That was one of them.
Okay.
And the one we use all the time? Jitsi.
Yeah.
And sometimes mysteries can be really tied into horror.
Yes.
Dracula is presented as a mystery.
Mm-hmm.
We know who the villain is, but the people in it are trying to solve the mystery of what's going on, who's doing it, and things like that. In this case, if you don't solve the mystery of what's going on behind the house and the motivations of the ghosts and creatures in this house, you probably aren't making it out alive.
Yeah.
This is a really cool book in the fact that it is genre neutral. If you make your character, they want you to use this as an interruption to your campaign.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're playing Dungeons & Dragons, Call of Cthulhu, Bubblegum Shoe, it doesn't matter what you were playing before. You walk into this, you convert your character to the rules here, which are pretty easy.
So not genre neutral, but system agnostic.
Well, yeah, it's definitely not genre neutral because
Yeah,
it's a horror story.
It's a horror and mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is definitely system agnostic because
Yeah.
it tells you how to convert any character from any system into a character that goes through this house.
Within reason.
There is no reason. You want to play a Call of Cthulhu player? Do it. You want to be a Rifts player? Do it. You want to play Dungeons and Dragons characters? Do it.
Yeah.
You want to be superheroes? Do it.
I'm only saying this because I know that for people like me, like, oh, I'm being told that it can do anything, and now I will start testing anything, and nothing is absolute.
Nothing is absolute.
And I'm just covering our bases that way.
I would love to see you try some of the more bizarre ones. I've done it with Dungeons and Dragons so far. I haven't used the book form, which is the tabletop, no video stuff. I did it with the video stuff because then you got sound effects. You have interactive maps and all kinds of really neat, cool things that can find there. You can try to duplicate with this method.
Yeah, and really, I don't want to try and take you up on that challenge because I really don't want to have to create a system, a RPG system based around absurdism and non-character characters.
Those already exist. But we'll talk about that in a further.
Yes.
I guess next week we're going to do romance, but sometime after that we need to go for the genre of absurdism.
Yeah. I'm not looking forward to that. I have issues with it. We also have Mystery of the Cursed Statuette, which I believe is this a D&D?
This is Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, but it is a third-party product.
Yeah.
And it is based around the concept of creating a Dungeons & Dragons Sherlock Holmes type mystery.
Nice.
Now, yes, we have some great examples of mysteries that are good for kids in Scooby-Doo, DuckTales.
Yeah.
There's all kinds
Gravity Falls.
Gravity Falls. Great examples of mysteries that we can do for all ages. Let me show you this thing. Let's talk a little bit, if you want to get into it now, about conducting a mystery.
Yeah.
So first of all, if you don't have a pre-written module like this that has the beginning, middle, end already written out, if you're writing it from scratch, you need to write backwards. You need to know the who, what, when, and where, and why, and the how already. Yeah. I know that Jack was murdered by Jill on the hill with a candlestick.
And why?
Well, because Jack kept his wife in a pumpkin.
Okay.
But now that we know this, then we write the story backwards where the clues can be found.
Yes.
Along this. Now, then you play it forward. So we have start, quest, and information. This is the adventure flow chart as shown in this particular book.
Yeah.
Again, this book is The Mystery of the Cursed Statuette, and it's a detective mystery adventure from a company called Midnight Tower. This is not the only one of these that they have.
Okay.
This is just the one that I got because it was really promising, a Sherlock Holmes type mystery. Designed for a group of 3 to 5 4th level characters. Includes scalable encounters, suit levels 1 to 20. So we start with the quest and information. We give the characters their hook.
Yeah.
What brought them into it? Why do they have to solve the murder mystery? In Eberron, the first murder mystery I had people go through, you were brought into the mystery because the police officer is being generous. I'm going to give you 24 hours to clear your names, or you're the ones I'm throwing in jail.
Yeah. And this kind of gets into one of the things that, one of the reasons why we're talking about mysteries in RPGs. They are effectively puzzles. And some people, you put a puzzle in front of them, they are intrinsically motivated to solve it. But not everyone.
Right. They have to have why should we get involved syndrome, and you have to give them a personal end. So the murder victim is somebody they care about.
Yep. Or maybe it's not because we're going with murder. What if it's not murder? What if something was stolen? Who stole it?
Right.
Well, why do we care what was stolen? Well, it was something that you cared about. Some people need something that more than just, this is a puzzle to solve.
Why are people why did somebody break in my house and steal a porcelain bust of Napoleon?
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know Sherlock Holmes? You'll figure it out on your own. The other motivations could be, as done in several police procedurals, it's because it's your job. That's your hook.
Yeah. But as someone who works retail, because it's my job isn't really an interesting motivator for a game that I'm supposed to be doing for fun.
Right. Yeah. I definitely understand that. But I also like to play the part of the detective.
Well, do you like solving puzzles?
Yes. I like making them more, but I like solving puzzles. I'm fairly good at it, and I like to do things that I'm good at.
Yeah. So, in fact, I've been running Wild Beyond the Witchlight.
Yeah.
And my players are currently at Palace of Heart's Desire. And I've been having a lot of fun with this campaign, but I have grievances with the last chapter.
I haven't even gotten to the last chapter yet.
Yeah. There are puzzles, and this is one of the issues that I have with puzzles in role-playing games. If there's a puzzle, I want that puzzle to have some narrative context for being there.
Okay. So how are you feeling about our third segment of our show, where the reason for the puzzle is because it's a contest and you are there to solve the puzzle?
Well, if in a larger narrative, my character is, we need to get through these puzzles because there's a reward, then that's the reason why it's there.
Yeah.
Mind you, I do enjoy puzzles for just, sorting out puzzles. I do like that mental exercise. But if I'm in a story, and suddenly I'm being given, here's some homework, and you can't progress unless you finish your homework,
right?
That destroys immersion.
Well, and the story we're doing is, it's not homework because you have to figure it out in a very short amount of time.
Right.
But you're basically in the Dungeon Crawlers Olympics.
Yeah. I mean, that is the larger narrative.
Right.
But in terms of Wild Beyond the Witchlight, there is a larger narrative, and I've come across a couple of puzzles where this doesn't make any narrative sense other than, there's some themes that are attached to it, but that doesn't mean that there's a narrative through line.
Right.
Yeah.
You come into a place that you have to figure out a sound-based puzzle because this is a music library, or everybody in here is in the storyline of the dungeon you're exploring is blind.
Right. I mean, that would be a narrative reason. With Wild Beyond the Witchlight, there are some locks based off of either heart, like a white heart, or a lion. Okay? I can understand a security system for what's happened in Wild Beyond Witchlight.
Right.
The placement of those doors makes no sense to me, because characters can leave the garden where where the clues to get the keys for the heart and the lion crests are.
Right.
They can leave it and start exploring the palace without it. They can get way ahead of it.
Right.
So why does she have these doors set up that way?
It's like in some of the old video games, there's a little bush growing in the middle of the path and you can't go around it.
Yeah.
Because reasons?
Yeah. Go ahead and hide the, we haven't programmed past this point, or you're not allowed, a little bit better.
Right.
Yeah. In a game like Dungeons & Dragons, where there's a lot more nearly infinite options, well, there are other ways to get around, but to at least make the security system a little bit more consistent.
So the next step here is interview the NPCs and explore locations
Yeah.
as you search for clues and gather information.
Mm-hmm.
This is, again, when you're writing this, you already know who the NPCs are.
Yeah.
You know who it is, and you've written down notes. What does each of these people know?
Yeah.
Because you're going to either give something away too soon, or you're going to not give away the thing you need to do.
Yeah.
Now, clues and getting information from people, if you're going to re-roll dice for those clues, then you really want to be working with degrees of success.
Yes.
You do not want the entire module to grind to a halt because somebody didn't roll a 15 or higher.
Yeah.
You want it to grind to a halt because they found the clue and couldn't figure out what it meant.
Mm-hmm.
Or it grinds to a halt because you have an obvious solution here. Go through the blue door.
Yeah.
I'm going to burn the house down until I find a red door. Okay. When they intentionally ignore the clues or go off on their own, that's on the player.
Yeah.
But you don't want them not to be able to solve it because you're too stingy with the clues.
Mm-hmm.
You made too much. If I am supposed to find a clue in B, but I don't look in the dresser drawer, then the DM should move that thing to room D.
Mm-hmm.
The necessary clues should be found. When they get found can be determined by rolls. How much information they were able to get can be determined by rolls and degrees of success. I've seen everything from, you find out that this creature is incorporeal. That's all you know. To up to you find out this is the ghost of Jimmy Dean, and the only way to kill him is whiskey.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first you have to determine that it's a ghost, and what does it mean to be a ghost, as opposed to a wraith.
So after you've interviewed the NPCs, explored the locations, then you get to your final questions, where you identify the culprit or you get the mystery. But that's not where the story ends.
Yeah.
Story doesn't end because I know that Jack the Ripper is actually Jolene the Ripper.
Mm-hmm.
I find out when I confront the criminal.
Yeah.
Or I publish my paper explaining why the scorpion centaur people collected spiders because they think they're cute, or whatever the reason behind the mystery is.
Yeah.
So you got to have your conclumination of where you confront, publish your paper, and then finally is your conclusion where you get your rewards and your epilogue, the things that happen after the story.
Yeah.
So when I'm writing this story, I'm actually starting from final questions.
Mm-hmm.
Seeding the area with my interviews and location clues, and then starting with the hook, working our way back.
Yeah.
And then the rest should fall in pretty closely.
Yeah.
What happens if you succeed? He goes to jail. He died. You don't find out, and the murders continue for another 20 years.
Yeah.
You have to have a fail state as well. This is how one of the aspects. If there's anybody in the audience, please ask questions. If you want to write us at info@RPG Research, use the subject line talk show so we know you're talking to us, and we will gladly get back with you, talk on the topics that you want to talk about, and give you more details about things you want to detail. Do you want to know more about the psychology of a mystery? Do you want to know more about the actual writing of a mystery versus being the dungeon master of a mystery?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts right now?
About what?
About mysteries in general.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I really like are the construction of stories.
Mm-hmm.
So, when researching mysteries, I was very much going into not only what does it mean to be a mystery, but how do I construct a effective and satisfactory mystery.
Right.
And I started with like, okay, what's a basic mystery? It can't just be A, B, C, where you start off with A, and A points to B, and then B points to C, and it's a straight line. You're not doing any problem solving.
Well, speaking of which, we talked before. One of the most popular mysteries is Sherlock Holmes obviously is one of the most popular, but as far as pop culture is concerned, we've got Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, and we both love Scooby-Doo. And,
I love Scooby-Doo, but I hate the mystery part of it.
Yeah.
All of the mysteries are solved in one manner.
Yeah.
That is the setting up a trap,
Yeah.
capturing the villain, and unmasking him.
Yeah.
Their clues didn't come up with who it was.
Mm-hmm.
They find out all their answers when they capture the villain with some elaborate trap.
Yeah.
But they didn't find a clue. Oh, this toothbrush tells me that the person has gingivitis because it has traces of blood on it.
And I want to say that is very early Scooby-Doo mysteries were like that, and this is one of the things that I've kind of went through the various iterations of Scooby-Doo, where we started off with very basic mysteries where here's a mystery.
I just want to make one thing clear.
Yeah.
Just so we don't confuse the audience. Velma doesn't exist. It's right there with 4th edition Dungeons and Dragons. And
the show Velma.
Yeah, the show Velma
does not exist.
Does not exist. Yeah. It doesn't count for... Well, it doesn't exist, so of course it can't count.
Right. Yeah, I'm not going to include that travesty of storytelling in my analysis of Scooby-Doo.
Yes, please and thank you.
Because it's not like Scooby-Doo was even in the series. Anyway.
Right.
Basic Scooby-Doo had a very basic mystery at the very beginning. They start off with something that they're trying to solve, and at the end, they solve it. There weren't many diversions. Even if it was, we reveal who it is at the end and explain it.
Right, and they weren't revealed because they solved a mystery.
Right. I mean, they solved it, but the viewer couldn't solve it with them.
Right. That is. I prefer my mysteries solvable by the audience. Mm-hmm. Whether that is watching a show and trying to catch all the clues yourself, and then finding out in the 6th Sense that he was dead all along.
Yeah.
I
will say that in later iterations of Scooby-Doo, you could do that. In fact, one of my favorite iterations, Scooby-Doo Mystery Inc., you could follow along with all the clues and figure it out.
That would be a giant improvement over what I started with.
Yeah. Scooby-Doo Mystery Inc. is an amazing series.
Not to say, like I said, I love all of Scooby-Doo from the beginning, except for She Who Shall Not Be Named.
Right. But, in terms of the development of the complexity of the plots, there was one that I thought of that was very interesting that included a brand new quote-unquote main character, or at least a reoccurring character that was integral to the structure of the plot.
Scrappy?
No. We're talking about a pup named Scooby-Doo and Red Herring.
Ah.
Yes. I talked about earlier about subversion of expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Red Herring was a subversion of those expectations. You followed the plot. Fred would always blame Red Herring. Red Herring was never it.
Right, of course.
Yeah. So, it's a subversion of the Scooby-Doo plot. I kind of wish that they'd bring back Red Herring and still maintain that, okay, he always acts suspicious, but he's always just innocent.
Right.
Yeah.
And you need those you need some red herrings.
Yes.
You need things that might lead you on the wrong path. But when you sit there and look at, well, is this relevant information, or is this just an interesting side note?
Right.
That's where you get some more complex storytelling involved, some more complex thinking involved.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to be running a mystery,
Yeah.
and it's going to start off as a simple murder mystery. It's for Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah. Call of Cthulhu has a lot of mysteries.
Yep. And sometimes they start off real simple. Who killed, who, what, when, where, and why. And while you're answering these questions, you find out about the larger and greater conspiracy and the farther and more dangers as you go further and further down the rabbit hole of insanity.
Yeah. So you have a nested mystery.
Yes.
Which is something that happened in Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, where you had episodic mysteries that revealed a much larger mystery.
Right.
Yes.
And those are the good ones to do it. And I'm a fan of those kind of shows that take you along the journey of figuring it out.
Yeah.
And I recognize that all mysteries need to be a crime.
Well,
and
not all.
all mysteries need to be traumatic.
No, they don't.
You can do a fairly good mystery of what happened to the sock puppets in No Thank You Evil.
Yeah.
So
you can absolutely have G-rated mysteries that are as engaging, with as many twists and turns, and it still be G-rated.
Right. And you can make those just as interesting to the adult group without having to get into the blood and the gore and those kind of things.
Yeah. You don't have to have a G-rated and talk down to people. That's one of the things that I tend to have an issue with many G-rated or for kids, where they make it for kids, but then they talk down to the children, and then they wonder why it's not getting any traction. Well, no one likes getting talked down to.
I don't think Blue's Clues talked down.
I wouldn't include Blue's Clues as a show that talked down to anyone.
Yeah. But it was literally a mystery.
Right. Yeah.
So keep yourself open to your ideas on what a mystery is.
Yeah.
Keep yourself open to the different genres within mysteries, because we can do a mystery in space.
Yeah.
Most genres can be commingled with other genres just fine.
Yeah. One other thing that I did want to mention is with a mystery, you should not be able to just solve it in Act 1.
No.
Right.
You should be getting close in Act 2.
Yeah.
The final stuff should happen in Act 3.
Yeah.
And when you're writing a mystery things, you need to have things that happen in Act 2 that twist on the expectations that were set forth in Act 1.
Would you say that a good definition of mystery is a puzzle that is spread over a narrative arc?
Yes.
I think that's a good description of a mystery.
Especially when we're talking in the genre.
Yeah.
The mystery of who dug the treasure pit on Oak Island isn't much of a narrative arc right now. But once we get all those clues together, we can tell the story of who did this, who, what, when, where, and why.
Yeah. As long as all of the clues are there.
Yeah.
We don't want a situation where it was a dream.
Yeah. Those can be satisfying. For example, at the end of a famous situational comedy that went for years, and it ended with "It was all a dream," but it wasn't a letdown.
Yeah.
One of the railroads. Very last word I want to put on this. Come back in 15 minutes.
Yep.
When we will have Dan here solve the Challenge of Champions mystery, and I do believe it is about how to get past a bear. Remember, don't run into a place of worship with a bear behind.
Well, that joke was unbearable.
Of course, it was very grisly.
You don't have the qualifications for that.
Are you kidding? I'm a dad. Well, thank you. See you again in the 15 minutes.
See you in 15 minutes.
And welcome back.
My name is Daniel Ivey, and this is
John Wilker, Vice President of RPG Research. This is our RPG talk show, and we are now into the third segment.
Yeah, this is Traps and Riddles, where you present me with a riddle at this point from Contest of Champions.
It's called Challenge of Champions. It's from dungeon number 58 back in 1996 in the Wayback Machine. You can go. It starts on page 32. Jonathan M. Richards was the writer, and the art was done by Terry Dykstra. And you'll get to see some of the artwork as we're going along and telling the story. These challenges were like the Olympics of dungeon crawls.
Okay.
And there are a series of these.
Yeah.
Once we get done with these, you're going to have to deal with the ones that I write myself.
Those are a lot harder.
That's what I've been told.
Yeah, although I think I've done fairly well with the ones that you've presented with me before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We will also present, but we've got a long way to go. There's at least 4 of these modules that are just little challenges.
Oh, so a total of 40.
Right. And
Okay.
when I run, but also we'll break it up. Hopefully, when we have guests on here that are willing to take on my challenge, we will give them ones that I've written already.
Okay.
So, are you ready to begin your story?
As ready as I can be.
Okay, this scenario is called Bear Sentry. And who are your 4 characters?
Yes, so with the word being bear, I figured I'd go with my wilderness group, which is a ranger, barbarian, druid, and bard.
Okay.
For those who are wondering why a bard is in the nature group, check out the history of druids.
Well, that is true. The original bards were actually a subclass of druid.
Yeah.
We're talking as in real life.
Yes.
Also in Dungeons and Dragons history.
Yeah. Okay.
So
that's my group.
After the last one, which was known as the Priest Challenge, your team is reunited and led to the next scenario starting area. A section of corridor 5 feet wide. Go ahead and show the artwork. Or to 5 feet wide, 15 feet high, and 50 feet long. There's a bear on a 15-foot length of chain, which is centered in the corridor. Another guild priest proctors this scenario, Lydic by his name, and he shows you the equipment you'll be using.
Okay.
2 rocks, a portable hole, and he informs you that there is a priest spell scroll, which the druid can cast. It is invisibility to animals on the far side of the corridor. So, on the opposite side of the bear, you can see right there at the end of the door is a scroll. All right. The dotted lines in front of the bear and behind the bear are his range. And you're starting at the door over there where you can see him.
Yeah.
At the whistle, Lyric reads on your task briefing. You must get all the way down to the end of the corridor, past the bear, and I must warn you that the bear is vicious and prone to attack anyone who's within range. Remember your equipment. 2 rocks and a hole, and yonder a scroll. Good luck.
How high did you say the ceiling was again?
15 feet.
15 feet. Okay. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up that portable hole.
Okay.
How large is that portable hole?
It is the standard 6-foot diameter.
6-foot diameter.
I do believe that's the actual diameter. But let's make it really simple for you. It is big enough for a person to step into it.
Question is it big enough for a bear to step into?
Well, it is. That is a possibility. You can sure as heck try to get the bear into the hole if that's what you're thinking.
Okay. Okay. So, this is my plan.
Dun, dun, dun!
I am going to have my barbarian move. Let's see here. 10 feet up to the line, as far as the
The answer is 6 feet. I was correct.
6 feet?
Yep. 6 foot diameter.
6 foot diameter. Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay. So he's going to move up to where the, as far as the bear can,
Right.
reach, just out of reach. And he's got the portable hole.
Yes.
Behind him is the ranger who has some rocks. He's picked
Okay.
up the rocks. Okay. Has the bear charged the barbarian yet?
The bear is right at the end of his 15-foot chain and scratching away. It sees you, but you are currently out of its range.
Okay.
As clearly denoted by the claw marks that form that circle.
Right. So we know that the bear will charge anything. So the barbarian is going to back away.
Okay.
Is the bear still still charging, or is he at the?
You're not attempting to cross his line. You backed off. He is just sitting there watching you.
Okay. So the ranger is going to take one of the rocks and throw it past the bear to distract him on the opposite end.
Okay.
Yeah.
You successfully throw it off. The bear immediately turns around and charges after the rock.
Okay. While he's doing that, the barbarian is going to run up to the edge and lay out the portable hole to where the to where the bear's maximum range is.
So, on the edge of the maximum range or inside the maximum range?
Inside the maximum range.
Okay.
Yes.
So, then what do you do?
The barbarian?
Yeah.
After laying out the portable hole,
Yeah.
he's going to roar at the bear and back away to have the bear charge him.
Okay. The bear turns around.
Yeah.
Charges.
Yep.
Falls into the hole.
Yeah.
Tearing it to shreds with its claws and pulling itself back up on top.
Darn.
Now you have one rock and a destroyed portable hole and a scroll of invisibility to animals on the opposite side.
Okay. I was hoping that I'd be able to trap that bear inside the portable hole. Okay. No.
What portable hole?
Well, the one that I don't have anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Just a reminder to the audience, he cannot use any spells that weren't provided for him on his scroll. He cannot use any equipment that was not provided to him.
Mm-hmm.
The DM smiling.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I know that that portable hole was integral to it, but there is not much that I can really do because, let's see here. The bard and the druid are going to attempt to lullaby the bear to sleep.
All right. Eventually, the time runs out.
Yep.
As you're unable to get crossed because once the bear is asleep, there's no space to get past the bear without waking it up. So.
Yeah. But at the very least, all my characters are still alive, but we will fail.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Obviously, you want to know the story solution.
May I attempt a guess in the 8
Sure.
minutes?
I would love to hear your guess after you found out that the 6-foot diameter portable hole is worthless if it gets shredded.
Yes. Well, I knew that the minute it was shredded, it's it was the most valuable thing. I was just trying to, remove the bear from the situation. My other alternative was going to be to have, say, the ranger jump into the portable hole and hold his breath.
Mm-hmm.
Close up the portable hole. Distract the bear with a rock while someone frisbees the portable hole to the other side, and hopefully it opens up and the ranger can climb out, grab the... Well, no. It would have to be the druid grabbing, in the portable hole, grabbing the scroll, and using the spell to sneak back.
Okay, problem.
What?
I mean, you were close, but the problem is throwing a portable hole like a frisbee is almost impossible considering it has nearly no weight.
Darn. Attaching the portable hole to a rock?
Yes. You can put up 2 out of 3 people in there.
Uh-huh.
Or 3 out of 4 of the people in there. Throw it wrap it around the rock.
Uh-huh.
Throw it over there. Let the priest or druid get out of the hole.
Mm-hmm.
Cast invisibility to animals.
Yeah.
Walk back with the hole. Stick the last person into the hole. And then walk back to the other side.
Yeah. I was concerned about it unfurling and being able to escape the portable hole once I tossed it over there.
Right. The only reason you would have failed for the unfailing is that you have to wrap the thing around the rock, but you can't tie it to the rock.
Yeah.
If you tie it to the rock with a bootlace or something like that, then they can't get out on the other side.
Okay.
And you just sit there, whoever throws just sits there on the other side going, well, get out.
Yeah.
Please get out. Oh, God. Time. Yeah. So.
Okay. I do tend to overthink some things.
Sometimes. So now, the next and last challenge
for this module
is going to be requiring you to remember some of the information about the previous challenges.
Okay.
And we may or may not talk offline for me to remind you.
Honestly, I feel, at least for the audience, who may not have been here for some of the previous attempts, to talk about it online with them. That way we're all getting the information at once.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I will reread this, and I'll know which information I need from the previous stories.
I mean, if we have to put it in the just chatting area, I think that'd still be fair.
Yeah, that'll give us a short break for you to remember or forget things.
Yeah.
All right, and once that's all done, we will go on to the next Dungeon magazine that has the stories. I'll announce that one next week.
Okay.
So, please let us know if you like these dungeon challenges. The Challenge of Champions series and our Traps and Riddles. Remember, I will bring up my own Traps and Riddles.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I did riddles, and there was like this 5-year-old. No, he was 8. 8-year-old, and I did Lord of the Rings riddles, and he came up with the answers.
Nice.
Quickly.
Was he? Had he read Lord of the Rings?
No.
No. Okay.
Yeah. But he was able to think them through, or he's read them somewhere else. But he these riddles, he no hints, no needing to roll. He just came up with the answers. It was amazing.
Some people have a mind for that.
Yeah. Now, we have exactly a couple minutes before we need to get on to the next thing. So let's talk about what we're doing next, which is the unboxing.
Yes.
This is the favorite part of our entire audience of 2, 3. I don't know how many people are out there right now. But tell your friends, get us donations, rpgresearch.com.
Yep.
Make sure you write to us, send us information on all of the social medias that you can find us. Just go to that social media /RPG Research.
Yeah.
And you should be able to talk to us and give us your ideas, your thoughts, and suggestions. So let's talk about unboxing. We have 2 things to unbox.
Yep. So we have Wondrous One Shots.
Okay.
Yeah. This is in a
And-
bag, and we have another box that looks, well, it's of interest to you. It is Alliance Game Distribution.
Right, and that comes from a barely known business called WizKids.
WizKids?
Yeah, they're the ones that make all the miniatures for Dungeons & Dragons, Pathfinder, HeroClix, and various...
Weren't we talking about this earlier?
Yeah, we were.
Do you want me to do this one or that one first?
No, you tell me which one you want to do.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna leave the best for last.
Which is?
The one for WizKids.
Okay,
Yeah. Okay.
so we go ahead and open up this one.
Yep.
This is from our box set. This is called Dungeon in a Box.
Yeah.
And this is specifically their series called Wondrous One Shots. They have other series. They have a year-long campaign that you run it kind of like a, you know those board games?
Yep.
That, not Epic. Epic isn't the word. But when you do something in the game, it's permanent.
Oh.
And the next time you play the game, that affects it.
Oh. I know. I just don't know the name for it right now.
Ah.
Well, let's see here, though.
But they do that.
Uh-huh.
So, like, you make choice A or choice B, and then you pull out a sticker and you put it on there, and that gives you your stuff for the year and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
They also do just straight mini sets. They do skinny minis,
Okay.
regular minis. They have a miniature box stuff. This is one of the people that I should convert from my just paying for and get them to become a sponsor.
Okay. Well, this one has quality control. The quality control person was this box was prepped and checked by an enigmatic brain eater.
Is it a mind flayer? Is there a picture?
Yeah, there is a picture, but I don't see a trademark on there. So.
Right.
Yes.
So you can show that towards the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that's zoomed in enough.
Yeah. Okay.
Excellent. Now, I got to warn you, I haven't seen these.
Oh, let me show you that.
So,
There you go.
because you just unsealed it.
Okay.
Dynamic brain eater. Looks very much like an octopus on a human's body.
Yep.
Okay.
And we have an adventure over here.
All right. What's the adventure called?
I'm still getting it out of the box. The Emberlight Express. There's a locomotive on it.
A little bit of steampunk. Maybe a good Eberron story.
Possibly, yeah.
Now, these stories are usually 5th edition compatible.
Yep.
The Dungeon Crate will do 5th edition and Pathfinder compatible, but these are usually straight 5th edition.
I am seeing some remnants of Dungeons & Dragons on here, at least in terms of layout. We've got a guy with a musket, so, you know, maybe available for the gunner feat.
Okay.
You know, firearms are an optional rule in Dungeons & Dragons.
Yep. More so in stories like Eberron, or even more in Spelljammer. Forgotten Realms has firearms.
Yeah, but don't they have like an arquebus?
Yeah, arquebus, flintlocks.
Yeah. We have some dungeon tiles.
You
Both
want to hand
sides.
me back whatever you
Oh, yes.
show off, and then I will promise to give it back to you so you can put it back on display.
It looks like this is built for a train.
Right. Well, the
Both
story
sides.
here is
We've got the.
Emberlight Express.
Looks like we've got the tops of the train, and then what's in the train. That's a cool. That's a cool way to reveal. So you've got the train and the tops of them, and as you get into the train, as opposed to being on top of the train, flip it over, and that's what's inside. I hope that's how they're doing it.
The guy with the rifle looks like a flintlock.
Yeah.
Now, this obviously, Emberlight Express could definitely be an Eberron, or it can be a Western.
True, we were talking about that last week.
Yeah.
And in fact, doesn't Dungeons and Dragons have a campaign that is on a train?
They have some modules that are on a train. There's one that is in the Heist series.
Yeah.
And there is a train heist and other things in Eberron.
Oh, yes. There we go.
And of course, if you want to go to Cthulhu, there's always the Horror on the Orient Express.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so these are the trains.
Yep. And in the next...
Tops on one side, insides on the other.
Yeah. I kind of like that dynamic. It allows you to...
each one of these is a train car.
Yeah.
And you have to, if you're inside or outside, you flip it over to the right space.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like we have some
Nice.
The sides of the cars as well. As push-outs.
That's the main engine.
Yeah.
As a 3D pop-up or something like that.
Yeah, it looks like you can have an entire 3D setup with everything.
Love it.
Oh, these are
This
wonderful.
company does do that. They have been known to give you 3D props to work with your miniatures, which are usually 2D.
Mm-hmm. There's the ends. I'm trying to not pop them out.
Well, if we run out and find out we have excess time, we might want to put that together.
We'll see.
Okay, here's your train back.
Choo-choo.
Here's our quality control card.
Yep. And let me show you what those. I'm gonna hand those to you. Give me just a moment here. Because after that we have monsters. Just a moment here. Here.
Yeah, these are very exciting to me. I love to put these kind of things together.
And we have some monsters. Looks like we've got a dragon, an elemental, possibly some salamanders, some bandits or humanoids, and the backs of them.
You know what?
What?
I'm beginning to think that these are like all of the train cars, and then you put the tops on
Yeah.
and the bottoms, flipping over, but you got the underside of the train, the top of the train, and all the different cars. So you put this whole thing together, and you're going to have a full train.
I think that's it. It's very interesting.
I like it. So, rail housing number 7 out of 7.
There we go. And these are the monsters.
All right, what do we got here? We have a wyvern.
Yep.
We have the railway thug with a flintlock. Railway thug number 2 with a pickaxe. Railway thug number 1, which is a girl with a giant wrench, aka this video game that I used to play, where you played the you had a wrench and it was all steampunk and you had trains and all kinds of things. Railroad 4 is typical bad guy with a scarf over his face. 5 is another pickaxe welder. There are 2 salamanders.
Yep.
A coal golem.
Oh, that's a cold golem.
Yep. Fire snake. It's 1 and 2. One of them being a viper and the other one being a cobra. So they got some nice variety and images here.
Nice.
All pictures have fronts and backs. And one of the things I don't get anymore are the base pieces.
Mm-hmm.
If I get low on those for some god-awful reason, I will have to order some more, but that's not a real problem.
Yeah. With all the pieces in there, I think that keeping the box is going to be very, very useful because that's a lot of pieces for train miniatures.
They used to give out the round discs for the 2D miniatures with every set, but then people were starting saying, I'm getting enough of these discs that, I only need so many for when I'm actually playing.
I don't know what you're talking about. You can never have enough of those things because then you start losing them and whatnot.
Oh, yeah, like I said, if I start rolling low, I will come up there. So, this is from the Wondrous One-Shots from Dungeon in the Box. They have many other products. I definitely expect you guys to look for it. And it's dungeonintheBox.com, I believe.
Yep.
And hopefully one day they'll think that we're good enough to become one of their sponsors.
Yep.
All right. Who do we have next?
We have a box from Alliance Gaming.
Now, even though this is a bigger box, it's going to take less time to go through.
Oh, okay. And me forgetting my knife today.
Oh, isn't that nice of you? There's a knife right there if you need it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Attached to my ring here. Yep, it is a... When people ask me if my knife is a weapon, I tell them no, it's a tool. Because I've never cut anybody with one of my knives that didn't need cutting. Like, to get a fish hook out of them, or...
There we go. There we go, there we go, there we go.
Or to lance a boil.
Okay. I'm going to open this off a bit off screen because
And he's going to remember not to cut towards himself so he doesn't get within his own blood circle.
Well, we have some private information that I, for the safety of our employees, and volunteers, I don't necessarily want to be on screen.
Right, right.
Yes. There we go. Turn that around. Come on. There we go. And we have Icons of the Realms. It is one item.
Yes.
Oh!
This might have been something you were interested in.
I see that. I'm gonna have to go home with this.
I'll let you use it on Saturdays at Spark Central or some of our other events when
Because
you're
I'm
running a particular module.
I'm seeing Hurley, I'm seeing Thaco, I'm seeing Mr. Witch and Mr. Light. How do you pronounce the Displacer Beast's name?
I have to visually see it, so if you hand me that up like
Yeah.
that is Darylagron.
Uh-huh.
Darylagron.
No.
It's Darylagron. Darylagron, one thing to notice about Hurley,
Uh-huh.
his twin's name is Burley.
Yes.
And you get to care of that. And I would like to remind the moderators that we like to keep the language to PG-13 or better.
Despite your strong opinions of a rule system, Thaco is the name of a clown.
That's who I was talking about.
Yes.
He's a nice guy.
No, he's not.
He is.
Opinions.
Opinions.
As a dungeon master, I think he's nice.
Mm-hmm. Well, people run them in different ways.
Okay, well, why don't we go ahead and open this box and get a closer look at the different miniatures.
Yes.
This box is important for Wild Beyond the Witchlight, the prequel as well as the first chapter, where you're going to meet all the characters in here. Unfortunately, this is also the only place to get these characters, because in the box sets and the random draws, none of these guys show up in those versions.
See, we need at least two of them because there's Hurley and Burley.
Well, Hurley and Burley never show up at the same time. Kind of like Batman and Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, they do. In my game, they do.
Oh, in your game do. Well, he's supposed to have disappeared in...
Uh-huh, I know.
So that's, and
Yeah,
then
uh-huh.
reappears.
Later.
But you're saying that in your story, somehow Hurley and Burley got together?
Yeah, they got back together.
All right, anybody out there who's gotten this set and is done using it, we can use an extra one just so we can get another Hurley Burley.
Yes. So
that...
Ooh, this is wonderful, this is wonderful.
Actually, you know how we can get another one without rebuying that exact same set?
What? How?
You pay for the $700 plus one that has one of every mini plus ones that aren't available anywhere else.
I don't have $700 to burn, unfortunately.
Well, that's what our sponsors are for, right?
So we've got the mermaid, and I'm trying to get the mermaid's glass bowl out of here.
Okay. Hopefully these are all showing up clearly on the screen.
Yes. So here's the thing with part of the plot of Wild Beyond the Witchlight. As, or at least my players have conquered all three of the... Jesus, this is a pain. Of the hags, and got access to magic mirrors that allow them to transport themselves between the each mirror.
Yeah.
And back to the circus, to the carnival.
Can you take a open that up?
Trying to.
Yeah, it should be the bottom part opens, leaving you with the base.
There we go.
All right, and you go ahead and put the mini in there. And now she is safe and sound in her fishbowl.
Yep.
So she doesn't suffocate from being on the outside. That's one of the more intricate miniatures I've seen where you had. But there are plenty in this set where you have to take the back off an animal and put the rider on it.
Yes.
And the riders has to be broken in half. Not broken, but they have to be separated, bottom and top half, and put into the saddle.
Oh, there's that's a little detail that I didn't see. Where Dialga has a little additional butterfly wings on her tail.
Yeah, isn't that? You have to look at the pictures that show them do show those butterfly wings on the tail. The butterfly wings are strapped to her tentacles.
Yes.
And it's just beautiful.
Yes.
This is a really good sculpt and paint job, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. So I wanted to mention that when it comes to that mermaid, because my players were able to move back and forth between the carnival, well, there is some intrinsic motivation for them to revisit. They have used the...
Do we need to zoom in on these to get a better focus?
Yeah, let me do that. Thank you. There we go. They took the lily pad from one of the hags.
Yeah?
And used that as a wedding gift.
Oh!
Yes.
Nice.
So that a particular mermaid could, not be confined to the bowl every single time.
Well, wouldn't it have to be that the bowl would move on the pedal? Because you just need the water.
Yeah. And then we have Mr. Light.
Well, who's the first person you just put down there?
Oh, this? That is, oh geez, I'm forgetting his name. The black and white mime.
Yeah, it's on the box.
On the box. Da-da-da-da-da. His name is...
Right hand side.
Candlefoot.
Candlefoot.
Yes.
Technically, he starts out with color, but he's lost color after the prelude.
Yes. And then we have Kettlestream, who can be a bit of a problem. My group currently has them working a fortune-telling stand.
And what is he?
He is a Kenku.
Yes, he's a Kenku. He mimics voices, and he's wearing fairy wings.
Fairy wings that he stole. Yes.
Yep.
But he's currently working. He's working off his crimes in the campaign that I've been running.
Yeah. Mild spoilers, but also it's different.
Yes. Each game is going to be different. We have Thackler the Clown. Let's see here.
He's a bit of a gruff fella.
Yes. He's wonderful at balloon animals. We have Burley.
A.K. Hurley.
Yes. He can be a bit philosophical.
If I got another Hurley, I would have to paint the pants different so that I could have Hurley and Burley somewhat distinguishable.
Yes. Ooh, I do not want to break this.
Please don't.
I'm trying not to.
Again, not a sponsor. We do use these in our professional contexts. We,
Yep.
use this particular game for therapeutic and educational purposes simultaneously, depending on the client's needs. And we did get donated to us the Beetle and Grimm's version,
Yep.
but it does not come with all of the miniatures.
I'm trying so desperately to get Mr. Witch out of his cage.
So the one you see right there, that's Mr. Light, the
Right
clown in the red and white.
Mm-hmm.
He is a co-owner of the Witch Light Carnival. Yes, it's named after them.
Yep. There is actually a sister carnival, just called, I believe, the Carnival.
Yes, and that is in Ravenloft or in the Shadow Realm.
Yeah. It is featured, or at least it is in, some of the details for it are in Vander King's Guide to Ravenloft.
Correct.
So it would be a domain of dread.
But the interesting story about that, and I'm not sure if this is too much of a spoiler for anybody, the owner switched.
We will keep that as a secret.
Okay.
Yes.
Play the game.
Play the game. It is honestly, I think it is a wonderful story. But in my particular game, one of the characters, dreams and is working towards becoming or being human resources for the Witchlight Carnival.
Excellent. Now, one of the things to point out about the Witchlight Carnival is that this story, this entire campaign, will
There we go.
can be non-violent.
Absolutely.
It is one of the few Dungeons & Dragons modules that was written that every encounter can be handled in a non-violent manner,
Yes.
so that it makes an excellent teaching tool.
And last but not least, we have Northwind and Red. I'm trying to find out where Red is. Red is at the top.
Yep,
of
the red squirrel.
tree. My players haven't really interacted much with Northwind and Red, but there are so many other characters that they have interacted with.
He makes an excellent trance. He's a little small for trance, don't you think?
Yeah. It is a bit small.
Because the story has kids playing in its branches.
Oh yeah, that is definitely, Northwind should be at least huge.
Yeah, and that one's barely a large. I mean,
That's a medium.
It's a large base, but it's a medium miniature, basically.
Yeah.
It's just slightly bigger than Hurley.
Yeah.
And that would be my only real complaint about this, is that he should be huge. It's a tree,
Yes.
not a shrub.
Well, maybe he's a bonsai treant.
Could be.
Yeah.
He's too small to have kids hanging in him.
Well, maybe fairies. Maybe
Fairies and squirrels, yes.
fairies and squirrels, yes.
I was going to use him in my Spelljammer campaign for one of my living ships, but I think I'm going to use a Pathfinder treant better, because he's got some. He's one of the more friendlier looking treants.
Yeah.
And he's not a tree beard.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing for them. So this is for that campaign. I highly recommend it. I highly looking forward to playing with these particular miniatures, especially in the prequel, because I want people to see. Now you're not necessarily going to fight all of these people here.
Oh no, I would say that none of these characters caused conflict in my game. I have used Burley to escort some problematic children out of the fairground before.
Yeah,
But that's
his job.
Yeah, that's his job.
But this module does not have to be violent, which means it can be definitely used for people that we want to discourage violence.
Yes.
And it can be done for younger people who come up with much more clever ideas than sometimes the adults do.
Oh yeah,
Alright.
and that is not a strategy. It's a tactic that I've used multiple times. Where once you know how to deal with certain things without violence, then okay, yeah, in your traditional games, well, sometimes combat happens and it is an option, but it doesn't mean that it has to always be an option. I have found numerous, times where I'm presented with something where I'm expected to fight, and I've found a non-violent solution, and sometimes far more interesting than the knockdown, drag-out fight that is expected.
I've had players in my campaign for the very first one,
Yeah.
Fandelver.
Yep.
And I'm surprised how many groups walk out of Fandelver with an army of goblins following behind them.
Oh, I am reminded of because we're doing a DM assessment, and we're using Fandelver,
Yeah.
and just the Goblin Cave at the beginning. It started off as a standard.
That's actually BFRPG.
Oh no,
Big
no,
fan. Are
no,
you
no.
talking about the clipboard?
No, I'm not talking about the clipboard. I'm talking about the one that started off as we're going into this Goblin Cave to save a whole bunch of people, and
Right.
we turned it into a Broadway musical. Yes.
I had a cleric, and he went to face kobolds and then goblins, and basically my plan was to convert everybody I met, and had instead of fighting people, they all converted to my religion and became much more peaceful.
Yeah.
Got less loot that way, but
Sometimes
Either
it's the friends that you make along the way.
well, we're running out of time, so we need to open up the other objects that are in the package.
This was the only thing.
No. Nope. There should be
there's
more.
They're hidden in there.
These are promo figures. One of the promo figures I got just because I ordered at the right time, and the other promo figure I got because it lined up with this set. When you go to whizkids.com and you order miniatures from them, then you can get promo figures for certain sets. But you have to buy the promo figure from that corresponds to the set.
Yeah.
So if I want the sentient penguins from Spelljammer, I have to buy a Spelljammer thing to get those promos.
Yeah. So
Some
we
of the
have
promos I have trouble getting.
we have a spring eladrin.
Now that is just because they were having a special and providing that. He's holding a little red bird in his hand. And Eladrin is a elf that's even closer to nature than your standard elf.
They're native to the Feywild.
Yep, native to Feywild. But that one was not as specifically Wild Beyond the Witchlight, even though it's in the same era.
Yeah.
And I got it because I ordered something that fit the criteria. The other item was because I ordered specifically this box, which is a Wild Beyond the Witchlight set. And this is bunny rabbits.
Herringon brigands.
Yep. In other modules and games out there that are writing for example, for this, the box, the Dungeon in the Box is doing a rabbit folk module.
Okay.
And so having these critters are always useful.
Yeah. In my game, they did not kill Agdon,
Yep.
and they're currently converting Agdon to the path of good.
Good.
Yeah. He is technically considered chaotic evil, but
Are you dragging him around by a scarf?
no, they haven't. They just used a whole lot of peer pressure on him.
Good.
And prove to him that him caring about his fellow Herringon and being hospitable to everyone in Prismere can be beneficial to him.
I've had stories where people came and says, "Oh, I met a dragon. You know, this dragon and dwarf conflict is stupid. You should be helping them out. They should be selling stuff, more stuff, and then bringing you tribute."
Yeah. If you can think outside the box, sometimes you'll find solutions that aren't readily apparent.
Exactly.
I mean, why does the gold hoarding dragon not work with the quote unquote greedy dwarves? The dragon can finance the dwarves. The dwarves can create a market for the dragon stuff, and everyone can make a profit. The dragon gets more gold, the dwarves get more gold, and everyone outside of those two groups gets poorer.
Right. Now, these are really great miniatures, as you see. They're really painted. The promos have got great paint jobs.
Yes.
The only problem I have with these things as a collector is there are some things that are harder and harder to find than they should be. I'm pulling up here from minigallery.com and the Wild Beyond the Witchlight collection. There are 52 miniatures that you can get in blind boxes. In those blind boxes, you get 4 miniatures. One of them is a large or a huge, mostly larges, but you get larges and huge. For example, the Jabberwocky is a huge.
Yeah.
And there are 52 of those miniatures. So 1 huge and then 3 mediums or smalls. Or 1 large, 3 mediums and smalls.
Yeah.
Then you have the Witchlight Carnival Premium set, which is what we just opened here. None of those miniatures are available in the blind box, so that has to be bought separately. That's okay, you can do that. Then you have the Swamp Gas Balloon, which is a full-scale balloon. You can put miniatures in it. It's a gargantuan in the scale. So it is one of the biggest miniatures you can do. It is about $80 by itself at full price.
I mean, I feel that for that miniature, that is useful if you're doing a miniature everything and you have that type of disposable income. But when it comes to that particular set piece, I don't think I really needed it.
Well, you don't need it in the story. It's something for, I'm doing full miniatures, I'm doing 3D terrain, and I want the pretty.
Yes.
Technically, don't need any of these minis here because there's no, you can do this completely conflict free and you don't have to have a mini. You just show them a picture. There's plenty of pictures available.
And there's also, theater of the mind.
Right?
Yeah.
And those with Aphantasia, you can make up for it. So there are 2 other sets, the Valor Call starter set and the League of Malevolence starter set. I have the Valor's Call. I do not have League of Malevolence yet.
Yeah.
That's another $50 to buy those 5 minis. So they're $10 a piece.
Wow.
Now, the Haragon Brigand with Poleaxe and the Haragon Brigand with Longbow, which we just opened, those are promo pieces. Those are only available if the store owner loves you or you get in on this WizKids deal where they're going to give you a promo for particular purchases.
Yeah.
Then we have Tin Soldier promo boxes. There are 2 of them. There are Tin Soldier with Spade, Tin Soldier with Heart, Tin Soldier with Diamond, and Tin Soldier with Club. The problem is that one promo box is European, one is American.
Wow.
So I have 2 of the 4 Tin Soldiers. And I'm not likely to get the other 2 unless I'm at a convention.
Yeah.
Or this one. Now we have 2 more that there's a Haragon Brigand promo, which is an extremely super rare. It's an exclusive collector set exclusive. There are also Tasha and Igulig, which are the same person, but one's the young version and one's the old version. And the brigand with short sword, which is technically 2 short swords.
Do they have a Zablina figure?
Yeah, Zablina is actually part of the primary 52.
Okay, awesome.
She is a rare, but she is available. She's the first listed rare, number 36. So these 3 here, the last ones I just mentioned, Tasha, Eglig, and the Haragon Brigand with a short sword, are only available if you buy the collector's edition exclusive. Now the collector's edition has every single mini on this list.
Except...
No excepts.
Oh, okay.
It has every single mini on this list, one of each. So it will have the Swampcast Balloon, it will have the Witchlight Carnivals, the Valor's Call, the League of Malevolence, all the promos, including the European ones.
How much?
700 plus.
Ouch. Ouch.
So it's in the $700 range to give you every single mini. But remember, if you're talking $10 a mini, that's what it's playing right now.
I'm just thinking because we don't want to act like money should be an obstacle for running enjoyable games. Yeah, these are wonderful. These are beautiful. You don't need them.
In fact, you know what? Let's make an upcoming show where we're going to talk minis.
Yeah.
And we're going to bring in various substitutes for minis.
Yeah, I think I'd have to do some prep for that, but
and some landscape. I had a display that I put out one time at a show showing the various ones. You can use anything from M&Ms to paper minis, tokens, to whatever your heart's desire as a miniature.
Would we be able to expand this out into just different things that we can do to enhance immersion, including minis? For example, talking about ambient music and other things, because I have a lot of opinions on that.
We have a 45 minutes for the main topic.
Yeah.
So unless we combine the main topic and the unboxing,
we could do that.
We might do that. But definitely maps and minis and other things that we can use for immersion, like sound, scent, lighting, and fog machines.
Yeah, because I have some opinions, some of them informed by what I've learned at RPG Research, and some of them a bit controversial for modern takes, but I've tested some of them, and I've found that when it comes to creating immersion, there is some precedence there. Especially when it comes to, by the way, my background is in art, so fidelity of images.
Right.
Sometimes having more detail breaks immersion.
Well, I'm going to have to agree with you on that because if something is so distracting that you're no longer paying attention to the rest, you don't want somebody picking up a mini and spending 15 minutes examining its details.
Right, to find the clues.
Right.
If there's no clues there.
Especially if the story is about somebody else.
Yeah. So actually, there's a particular software that I have purchased. That
we can talk about that when we're doing our immersion.
Yeah.
Right now, let's talk about the last thing we need to talk about.
Yes.
And that's working our way out here. Again, this is where we would talk about all of our sponsors. We have had people donate wonderful things to us.
Yeah.
Wizards of the Coast has donated books and learning materials. YMI has donated learning materials, lesson plans, and other things for us.
Yeah.
The Sirenscape has donated music for us to use for our Call of Cthulhu campaign.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to get that reset up if we get the campaign going again.
We're working on it.
Beatles and Grimm donated the Wild Beyond the Witchlight set that they make. And remember, these are luxury items.
Yes.
Wild Beyond the Witchlight is totally luxury. Not necessary. The company themselves will tell you that it's not necessary for you to pay $300, $500.
To enjoy a game.
Right. And we're going to talk more on that. But we, as RPG Research, only exist from the work of non-paid volunteers who are here because we love it, and people who donate money and materials to us. I have people that donate handmade miniatures, 3D printed miniatures, hand painted stuff to us all the time.
Yeah.
But and then there's the stuff that we have to purchase ourselves. We can do more. We can do better with your help. Please go to rpgresearch.com/donate.
Yeah.
Go to patreon.com/RPG Research. Sign up to be a member here on Twitch. I'm always trying not to call this Switch. Or, hey, Patrick, let's play the Twitch game. And then he gets all bug-eyed. But anyways, this is what we want to talk about. This is, we're here for you. Please write us at info@rpgresearch.com. Subject line,
Talk show.
Talk show.
Yeah.
And please tell your friends that we're here. If this isn't the show for you, tell us why. And maybe making it the show for you is what we want to do. But if the show you want is something that's completely off the rails, for example, you just want us to do videos of us playing Call of Duty, well, we're not going to be your show.
We're going to have to work real hard to try and find an RPG spin on Call of Duty for Call of Duty Let's Play.
I don't know, maybe we can do the zombie version.
You know what, maybe...
But I prefer Red Dead Redemption to Call of Duty.
I'm just thinking that we may be able to do one of my favorite RPGs, the Twilight 2000. Yeah, we can also talk about PTSD and trauma with Call of Duty, or how it desensitizes people to violence.
Right.
The positives, negatives, and everything in between with that.
Nice conversations on the different genres of role-playing games and what is a difference between a JRPG and an RPG, or just plain, is it a role-playing game just because it has that title?
Tetris. Tetris is not an RPG.
Exactly.
And if you're dressing up as one, that's not Tetris anymore. That's cosplay.
Exactly. Those are all accurate. We want to tell you, but speaking of games that we could play, computer games that we could play on the...
Baldur's Gate 3?
Baldur's Gate 3,
yes.
We need to get that going. I have one person to volunteer to be my partner. We need to do a two-person thing. But I am going to be playing the Dirge, also known as Dark Urge, and I'm going to try to play him as a hero, which I hear is a challenge. I have never done a Dark Urge role playthrough, so it's going to be completely new. In fact, I haven't yet finished my first playthrough.
Same here.
I am in the third chapter.
I've only gotten to the end of the second act.
But I have had a full TPK at the into the third act, and I'm debating whether or not to start over.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I'm not doing honor mode, but I do my own. I accept what happens game.
Yeah.
We definitely have a challenge for it.
Maybe call it Bushido mode.
Right?
Bushido mode.
That's excellent. Last thing to say is good night, dream well,
and play well.
Have a wonderful night. Thank you for watching. See you next week at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Yes.